So the first question is it's very deep, but the intention is that it has to be very spontaneous.
Okay.
So the first question is, why are you a musician?
Oh, that's a good, a good question. So one thing is a practical reason, because my my brother, who is now a conductor, started before me, and my sister also started started before me. So for me, it was quite natural to go as well into music. And I picked up the violin because both my brother and my sister were playing the piano. So my parents said definitely not third pianist. So we have to look for something else.
So that was in your early childhood, I guess?
Yeah, it was around when I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you already know that you wanted to become a violinist?
No.
No?
Definitely not. But I liked the violin immediately, and I had some good intonation, good absolute ear, as you call it, and so I kind of found immediately somehow the sound. This is what they told me, because I don't remember. But came home with after first lesson of violin, and then I showed to my mother, and I said, "Look, Mama, I can do." Yeah, I scratched, and then I started playing. And so my mother said, okay, thanks God." Maybe not a life of scratching.
It's not gonna be a nightmare forever.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah. Was there any moment from there that where you kind of said, "Okay, this is my thing"? Kind of. Was there any experience?
No, not really. I mean, it was just a normal path for me. So it was like it was obvious for me to go on, because luckily it from the beginning it went very well. I liked my teacher, my first teacher, who brought me to the diploma when I was 18. And so for me it was and at home everybody was making music, so apart from my parents are not musicians.
No.
But so my brother, eventually now he's a quite well-known conductor, and so it was quite normal for me to think, violin, this is my life. Yeah.
And just to enter in the mind, this young Marco Rizzi, was there any kind of icons, any kind of people that you admired at that time that you said, "Oh, this is"? I'm talking now musically, more.
Well, musically, I mean, of course, I had this the great admiration for my then future teacher Salvatore Accardo, also your future teacher, and so this was for me, because the best you could ever dream of. But recordings at the time were not so easy to receive. So I had a few recordings that I continuously listened over and over and over. Was like, I remember Brahms concerto with Schering, and Tchaikovsky and Mendelssohn with Zuckerman. That was this, so the pieces I grew up with.
And you say it was a very natural path, somehow very organic, the first years.
Yes, very very natural. I imagine, because it came quite easily for me. So everybody likes to do what it is coming easily. It was not at all. Although it was at that time. Now in Italy it is more spread the culture of music, not enough, but better than at that time. But I was kind of white fly. I remember in my class at school. So, violin, what is violin? You play the violin. What is this?
It was a strange thing.
Yeah, a strange thing.
Kids didn't.
No, no, it was absolutely. There was one other kid who played piano. That's all. But violin.
And when was then the point where you said, well, this is serious?
I think, it was around like 12, 13, 14, yeah. And I remember very well, there was one moment when I finished school, so I was like 19. I finished general school, and then I said, yes, of course I will go to university. So I went, I made my inscription, and I never went.
Oh, really?
I didn't have time.
What?
Mathematics.
Mathematics, really?
Yes.
You know, I asked Marta Gullas,
Yes.
same question. She also wanted to be a mathematician or a musician. She didn't know.
Aha.
A strange thing, no?
Yeah, it's strange. But I know many. I mean, as a matter of fact, Albert Einstein
played
violin. So there must be some
it might be connected
connection.
somehow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So how would you say, now we're kind of jumping into ages, but it still has to do with young Marco Rizzi, let's say. How would you say that your vision of music has changed over the years? What are the main differences?
You mean until now?
Yes.
Oh. Well, at that time, I was more a violinist than a musician, I think. Now I am more a musician that plays the violin. And the reason is that, of course, some experiences, also meeting with some fellow artists. Like I remember very well when I started playing with Mario Brunello and Andrea Lucchesini. Eventually, this was just kind of new world for me. Before it was this experience of the European Community Youth Orchestra, where I got in and and then suddenly you are sitting next to Bernstein or Zubimeta or and making music with Midori, and so that changes a lot of the perspective of what you are doing, and the most incredible thing was to meet violinists or musicians from other countries. Because then through them you meet other cultures and other way of making music, and I was kind of I don't want to say suspicious, but I was interested and looking from a little bit far away. And I say, let's see how it works, and it was so many new impulses and so many things that I didn't know. I remember reading chamber music in the youth orchestra. At one point, after first 2 weeks, I said, how is it possible? I'm always in the wrong place of the book. And they are reading like me, and they know exactly what they have to do. So there must be a school behind this that I didn't quite get, it's kind of forma mentis, how to really read music, not only a task that you are told to do something and then you do it, but there's a way of living through the music. So this was a very, very intense discovery for me. Yeah.
There is somehow thing in what you're saying, an idea that maybe I'm wrong, but I would say it's kind of this first symptom of intelligence, which is asking yourself questions. Like, for example, when you're looking at who is doing what, and you're like, hey, I'm not doing that. What can I do to, get to this knowledge? And what you were saying about these great maestros, something where you realize that you're more of a violinist, like you were saying, than a musician. So it's beginning to ask yourself some questions and then going through that.
I don't know, maybe is my forma mentis that I always make but it comes naturally to me comparisons, not comparison to say what it is better, etc. But for example, like 3 days ago, I went. We had a small vacation with my wife, 2 days. Yeah, we went to a castle, and then I immediately thought, this reminds me of Sermonetta. This reminds me of that. This reminds this kind of connection, you know. And then I started inquiring myself, asking myself, okay, why is it? This was like this. This is different. This is the same. And little by little, you know, through questions, then you have more knowledge, you know. And, when I'm teaching, I'm always saying, ask yourself a question, then give yourself an answer. You're not stupid. You will have a good answer, and then you are one step forward. You know. So if you choose, you know, you choose between one thing which is best than the other, and then this is the way how to go. So ask your question, make a decision, next step. Question, decision, next step, like this. You go on automatically, and most of the people would choose the best solution. So it's a way how to go on.
Would you say this is one of the things that you look for in a student?
Well, I certainly need students that are intelligent. Certainly, this is something that it is really necessary, because my way of teaching is not through imitation or through impressions or whatever philosophies, etc. Is to discover things with feelings. Discover with feelings. So a combination of rational and irrational. And this is how I am. It's not that I think it is the only way, but I need people who follow a certain course of thinking, and the people that remember what I say. So I get very cross when people don't remember what we said in the previous lesson. Yeah. I need people who are thinking along with me.
Yes. This is something that I must say I witnessed, if I have to be honest, that I was used from my experience. It was not required to be smart, let's say. It was more about giving orders. Of course, you have to be intuitive, which is not the same, because you have to know how to represent what they are telling you to do, and that is sometimes very hard. But it was more about, I give you an order, you do, and that's it. But I experienced in your case, in the small experience that I have with you, is you ask questions that are not only like focus in one direction. They force, in a good way, the student to ask deeply inside of what he or she wants to bring out, and this is very interesting.
Yeah, I must say that that it is like a survival, you know, for me, because if you work with a student, you don't want to work against the student. So you'd better know what the student has to offer, exactly. And get along. I mean, this is always a cooperation, you know, for me. And so there's no. It's like interpretation. If you know the style of Mozart or of Brahms, then you'd better get along with that. About technique, don't fight with the violin. You know, so find the good spots that your violin, whatever violin you are using, that you can find in your instrument, and use them. And don't force only your ideas into the instrument. Yeah, and the same with students.
Yes,
the same.
We talked about your teaching. Maybe now we can talk a bit about the competitions as well. Your prize winner from, if I don't remember wrong, Tchaikovsky, Queen Elizabeth, right? Indianapolis. So, what did these experiences teach you?
I mean, competition. I remember at least how I lived the competition. It was quite stressful, and so there was not much, let's say, time or wish to look around. but many moments of competitions still follow me, and I have them in my experience. I remember, for example, one thing. Unfortunately I don't know the name. I don't remember. But when I was in Tchaikovsky competition, I was sharing a room with one Chinese cellist, and the conditions were not so great. So sometimes we had to practice in the room, and we had to share the time to practice in the room. So I was practicing, and he was listening, and he was practicing, and I was listening. And I remember one thing that really still today I think is fantastic. That he said before doing anything I must find the sound. When I find the sound, then I can start practicing. Without sound, I cannot do anything. And this is really good. I mean, is exactly what I think nowadays. And at that time, I thought, oh, wow, this is something to bring home. I remember also in Indianapolis, there was one moment when there was supposed to be a concert of the second prize winner of previous edition, Leonidas Kavakos, and he got ill, and so the concert was cancelled, and members of the jury said, okay, we play something, and so we were sitting there and listening to the jury members, and
really?
Yes, really, and I will not tell you who played what did they play.
Can cut it.
But no. But at one point I thought, well, I can do better.
Yeah.
It was a learning, a teaching for me that that you have me, you, everybody, has something to give, has something to do. You just have to discover and to realize that you can, I don't want to say teach, but you can give something to the history of music. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing was keep your level, especially when you are, we are here in Cremona. There's fantastic players. They play millions of notes, fantastic, etc. And so you better keep your level, because people then notice. Most difficult thing is, when you have a master class, to play yourself in front of your students. So that's really terrible. It's worse than competition.
Yeah?
Yes. It is some kind of being honest to them. Mm-hmm. It is a how do you say? Now I don't have the word. I will tell you the word later. È una.
Questa parola non esiste.
Non esiste, no.
Going back to this competition tema, do you think there are differences between what they represented at that time and what they do now?
Not really. I think the competition stays the competition. Of course, I have also had the experience to be now on the other side in juries of, Paganini, Hannover, Joachim, Queen Elizabeth. I was in jury, etc. So, first, one thing I must tell you, which is quite surprising, when you are playing competition, you are participating to competition, you think, okay, now this is the student of the teacher of that, etc. You make so many things. I must say that I never saw wrong things. Maybe I was sleeping, I don't know. But I saw always my colleagues very interesting and willing to listen to young musicians. And I didn't have the impression that the people want to impose their view of a violin or of an interpretation on the colleagues or on the candidates. Having said that, on the other side, so when you really play into a competition, this is This is, it is a challenge for yourself. It was a challenge there. It was a challenge. It is a challenge today. I think that what is changed is the meaning of competition in musical life. At that time, it was a quite sure path to start a career.
Mhm.
And apart from that, it was personally seen my only path to start a career. So there was no other choice. Now you have many other choices, many other possibilities. You audition for people. You make a project. You find the sponsors. You organize an orchestra. So many possibilities, And as a matter of fact, there are nowadays many solists, well-known solists that never won a competition. Not because they were not able to do, but they found another way. So this is the main difference. Now competitions, there are many competitions, more than that time, and the result, of your possible first prize, second prize, third prize, is not so sure as at that time.
Mhm. For making a career.
For making a career.
Do you think social media also has a lot to do with the fact that there are so many other ways to make a career?
Sure, of course. Social media is certainly one very important part of musical career of our life.
So it's true, like for a young musician these days, social media seems to be, or at least that's what is taught, to be an extremely important part of your presentation, not as a person, but as a musician directly.
Yeah, frankly, I see social media as a tool. It is another way of presenting yourself. But still, our job, our activity is face to face. I must say, after the pandemic, there was this terrible attitude of many organizers that they organize masterclass online or things. This is something that I absolutely
No way.
no way. There's no way. Really, if somebody is interested in my teaching or coming to my class, they send me a video. Of course, I listen. Yeah, I say a couple of things, but then at the end, of course, we had to cope with this pandemic. Fine, but once the pandemic is finished,
it's over.
Also, and we go back to face to face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I would like to go before that, because there is one more question that comes to my mind from all this conversation, but more in terms of I would not just say what you're looking for in a competitor in competitions, because I think this is too small. What kind of interpretation nowadays from a young musician is the one that you say, oh, this takes my attention, this is worth listening to?
Okay, we must go back one step. So many people think that you are interesting only if you do something that nobody else did. But slowly the possibilities are finishing. So or you start playing Brahms concerto standing on the head, or more or less it has been done, everything, good and bad things. So if you are listening to a concert, you want to receive something from this concert, yeah? Or you are listening to 60 times the Bach Fuga, and you want some interesting things to happen. Otherwise, you go to sleep. What is interesting? What is interesting? Is somebody standing on the head playing Bach Fuga? No, this is not interesting. This is stupid. What is interesting is something something to discover something that I don't know. So a piece that I play since I don't know 40 years or 45 years, that somebody brings a light into this, that I said, oh, it is like this, and I didn't know. This is interesting, you know. Something new, but not new because it is strange, but new because it is a new combination between what the composer, and the composer doesn't change because he wrote what he had to write, and probably he is dead now. The other part is the interpreter. So this community of interests, this partnership, this is what it is interesting, and this is what it can bring, some discoveries, some new light. Then you like it or not, that is also another question, you know. But first thing is to have this fusion, you know, between personalities that brings out something new. So from the side of the person who is playing, what does this mean? This means that you really must put in challenge your soul and melt it with the soul of the composer. So it is not about following what it is written staccato or point or, but to go beyond this, and you read a score in one way, I read it in another way, and we melt with this piece, with the composer, in two different ways. This is interesting.
But it's still harmonizing with the piece.
But it is still harmonizing if you take into consideration the issues that this piece is proposing you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you take it into consideration, if you just attach your ideas like a stamp on the envelope, that's not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is interesting is not to go further, to go more and more strange. So he is playing fast, I play faster. He's playing louder, I play louder. He's playing more diminuendos, more staccato. I play even more staccato. This is not the way to go to the extreme. There is a center, you know, of this thing, you know, interpreter and piece and composer, and you turn around and you look to this thing, to this center, from many different ways, and at one point you find a point of view that you didn't know it exists. And maybe it is here, maybe it's there, maybe it's there, and this is really something that fascinates me. Also when I teach, I just listen and I say, oh, let's keep this, and from there we start working around this jewel, you know, that comes out. I say, this is interesting. It happens all the time. I mean, not every single lesson, but let's say there are a few lessons where I don't find anything positive, but usually I find something positive. Only problem is when is one thing positive and 100 not positive. It's also
yeah, because what you said, this can be good, but if the center there is something that is completely wrong, there might be more difficult.
Yes, exactly.
Is there any kind of, maybe you thought about, maybe not, of kind of common mistake that you see when you're teaching? A common thing that you say, you know, this happens so many times, and it's kind of sad.
Yes, lately I must say I find more and more some incapacity or some obstacle from the side of students to really follow what I'm saying, you know. And I don't speak difficult, you know. But it's kind of you know, the attention has a limited
Time.
life
Yeah.
or limited, yeah. And so this is very annoying for me. Very annoying because as I said, I can work with a student that is thinking along this, coming along. But if he doesn't come into my world, it's difficult. Then it is not that he has to do what I want, but at least you must be open to another world. And very more and more I find examples or lessons in which it's really impossible to, or very difficult to bring people over. It is a lack of taking the risk to go an unknown path. Yeah. So first of all, the pieces of information nowadays are very fragmented. Yeah, it's very. I take this bowing, I take that fingering, I take this. Yeah, and more fragmented is your
Whole world.
world,
Yes.
and more it is superficial. Yeah, because you touch a little bit here, a little bit there. It's like when you have a buffet, you don't really eat something. You try this, you try that, yeah, and then many times you try first something sweet, something salted, so it's a big chaos. The other thing is to understand really the nature of a lesson. So in principle, sometimes I tell my students, in principle, when you have lesson, it is like sight reading, you know. So you prepare something, you play it once, and until you know the first 10 minutes of lesson, you play what you prepared, so you are in a known landscape, you know. Then I start to work with you, and if I start to work, I will tell you something that you don't know or that you don't do. From that moment, you are completely lost somehow, you know. So it is sight reading. It is sight reading. It is like I put you a new piece. Okay, now read this Mozart sonata, and we work on that. It is the same. I mean, the notes are the same that you practice at home, but the ideas are completely new, you know. So there is not so much readiness to accept this. If you have a lesson of 1 hour, 50 minutes, it is sight reading. Yeah, then you practice at home, you know this 50 minutes, you come to the next lesson, 10 minutes you know, and then again 50 minutes of sight reading. You know, and people stay attached to what they know. You know, and there's not this readiness of say, okay, I try, I like or not. It doesn't matter. I will think later if I like it or not. Yeah, but this readiness to put you in danger, to take the risk, you know, to come along.
Taking us back to what you said about the fragmented things. Honestly, I don't know if you might agree or not, but something that I feel very much and kind of, I don't know if it annoys me, but at least I saw it, is that whenever you enter, wherever it is, doesn't matter, any social network on internet, you find, or at least I find, thousands of small clips, you know, from concerts and whatever, from the most beautiful moment or whatever it is, no?
Mm-hmm.
And I see a very big lack of, you know, the full thing, kind of. I understand that the small things are very attractive, but when minds, and young minds, I guess, are built in this kind of, you know, structure where the small bit of the Ninth Symphony or whatever it is, you know, this is the biggest moment, 30 seconds moment, or any Brahms symphony. And you're like taking this information, this other and this other, but there's a lack of, you know, the whole structure in the mind. And that also, I think, affects the patience and affects kind of you're willing to, you know, oh, this whole thing, let's work on this for so long, and finding the structural meaning in it.
Yes, well, I completely agree, and I remember some years ago that Deutsche Grammophon wanted to make potpourri, to put out a recording or a CD with the best of, so first movement of Brahms symphony of this, the second movement of Beethoven symphony here, etc. And I remember Claudio Abbado went to the judge to stop this, because he said no, because if I recorded one symphony, if you want, you print again one symphony. It is not my art, only one, and he won, so they stopped. This is one thing, and this fragmentation, as you say, so a clip, etc. It is how the social media are working, So you have this attention life of 30 seconds, maybe 1 minute. I think some posts are limited to 1 minute, and then and this is also this affects also the public, because people who are on social media, then maybe they go to a concert, then it's difficult then to listen to Beethoven concerto with 45 minutes after you just heard
the last
clip,
bars.
the last bars, or the theme, or
Yeah, exactly.
it's difficult.
I think this was very interesting, but now I would like to go back because we have to finish at some point. Maybe you're tired, and I would understand that. But for me, it's amazing. What can I say? So, before you mentioned Abbado, some of the most memorable experiences on stage that you've had with some of these great maestros, or
Well, I remember for sure Gore Lieder in Berliner Philharmonie, at the Berlin Philharmonie, with Claudio Abbado, Jessie Norman singing. She was sitting next to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember. I think you find it on YouTube. I think it's and she was singing, and there's at one point there's a solo. The solo of the violin with a voice, and it was kind of canon, so and then I have to accompany her, like this. I had to accompany her, and she was making whatever, and Abbado was conducting. Nobody understood what he was doing, and I looked at him, and he said, during the concert, he said, it's like this one, a bow of 2 meters. So this was, this incredible,
Yeah, of course.
incredible experiences also with Bernstein. I remember when I was playing once as a soloist, I was playing Bruch concerto, I think in England, and concerto was going, I was playing, and then suddenly I started like to fly, and I thought, this is what what great artists are doing all the time. So I said, wow, I was a little bit afraid, so that was losing completely the knowledge of what I was doing, and was like lifting, like we would lift now and go middle air. So this was a couple of things, not very often, but I recognized, this is what great artists are doing all the time. No, so this I remember Brahms piano concerto with Radu Lupu. It was a great experience.
How is it being a concertmaster with Abbado or Bernstein?
Abbado was somehow very friendly. I mean, was very serious and treating each of us really like his equal. So you just want to give your best and more than your best. Yeah. So to these people who have this kind of they live so much the music, you know. So you look at them and you understand music. It's really. I'm talking now about conductors, but the same with pianists. When you listen to, I don't know. I remember Radu Lupo. It was my first tour when I was 17. So for me it was like, you know, the 1 week before you're playing in the school orchestra, and 1 week later you're in front of Radu Lupo playing Mark's first concerto. Quite a difference.
How was it with Bernstein?
With Bernstein was incredibly. I mean, we played his symphony, third symphony Kaddish,
Mm-hmm.
and Leonora Beethoven Overture, and then he was sharing the concert with his assistant Eiji Oue.
Mm-hmm.
And Eiji Oue was conducting one piece about Hiroshima Requiem and Midori Mozart Concerto. And so Bernstein was really like discovering music all over. It's like you see a violin like this and then you do like this. And, wow. I had a very very strong remembering, because actually I was sitting behind with Bernstein. I was sitting behind the concertmaster, and at one point at the Wiener Staatsoper, so we start the concert, and the concertmaster didn't come out. Like in England, the use is that the whole orchestra comes out, tunes, and then the concertmaster comes out, takes a bow, and then comes the conductor. So, and we were waiting for the concertmaster. Doesn't come. This was on television. Doesn't come. So there's this empty chair, and suddenly arrives Bernstein. Oh. Bernstein arrives, looks, and he looks at us, and I was sitting behind, and there was this colleague of mine, the lady from England. She was sitting near, you know, the empty chair. I said, "Go," and she said, "No, go." I said, "Okay, I go." and then I said, okay." Then of course, big applause. Okay, so we start.
The concertmaster didn't come.
Just didn't come. He was sick. He just felt sick 5 minutes before the concert. Was just
Yeah.
Good. So we arrive. I go there, of course, a big applause, etc. etc. So shake the hand, and we start Leonora. Fine. I was sure he would come. Maybe he got lost in the theater. I don't know. So we finish. I look behind, and they start. I said, what? And the problem is that this Hiroshima Requiem had a solo.
Uy.
And and of course I didn't practice the solo, so I knew it by hearing a couple of times, but I didn't know. So comes out Eiji Oue, yeah, and I start, you know, becoming white, and then I shake his hand and I pull him to me, and I tell him, I don't know the solo. And he looks at me, he smiles to me, and said, let's try. Okay. So we sit, and I start, and I remember exactly so first page, second page, the solo was at the beginning of the third page, So we start, luckily it was not so crazy. We start, and then after 2 lines, I said, okay, I must practice. So I turned the page.
Really?
Yes.
In the concert?
During the concert. So I was kind of playing of fake 2 pages of piece, just to look at the solo. This lady, she turns back. After 5 bars, I look at her, I turn again.
This is a comic
And then,
sketch.
no, it's a really comic, but it was for real, and it was on
very stressful.
in direct in Eurovision. So she understood finally. She understood that she pulled back the chair. They behind it, they pulled the stand a little bit more forward, so they were sitting at 3, So I had my stand. Finally, I could practice while playing. So with one half of the eye, I was looking what the bowings were doing. So I was kind of doing the same. And so I said, okay, they are.
How many parts of the brain you were using?
So there I put the first finger, then I go up, then I go here, now here, then I change, etc. So like this. Only there was one problem, that there was something slow, etc. And then there was something very fast, very strange, awkward, etc. I said, this I cannot do, this I cannot do, this I cannot do. Then I tried to remember how it goes, and then I saw that before and after this part, there was a same note. There was a 1/4 of, I think, F sharp. It was F sharp, and then again F sharp. Okay, so fantastic.
You're saved.
I will make a cut. So I start very slow, very vibrato, long, etc. So the conductor is waiting for me, etc. And then I arrived to this F sharp. It was like 4 or 5 bars. I arrived to this F sharp, and I stay like half an hour on this F sharp.
Only F sharp.
Only F sharp. Just to get his attention. And then at one point he looked at me, and I said, shoulder, and then I went on. And then he understood, and then he gave the entrances, etc. So I cut, and then we finished. So this at the end was like this. I said, okay, now, there, etc. Yeah, so this is something that I remember.
Fantastic. How old were you here? Were you very young?
It was the tour of Hiroshima Requiem of the 40th anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing. So it was 85. 85. I was born. I was 18.
18, so young.
18.
Oh yeah, that's
18. Well, the whole night I was throwing up and trembling, etc. Just because of this.
Just because of the.
Just it's like I was like ill, from the nerves. Yeah.
So it's funny now.
This is funny, and I'm happy that I survived it. Because to screw this up in Eurovision is not nice.
No. But it's good that all the shaking and that came after, not in.
Yeah, and not on the F sharp. Not on the F sharp.
Okay, so we are almost done. I would just like you to answer a couple of questions. You don't have to be very. If you don't want to be long, you don't have to. First is, now that we've spoken about the past, we've spoken about the present, are you happy in general terms, not talking about violinistic playing, but about the classical music, the path that it's having nowadays?
No, because I think I would like that classical music becomes a real part of life, yeah, Music, of course, it is part of life, but I think classical music, it has this teaching, teaching, first of all, it teaches really to listen. When you listen to classical music, you are yourself an artist. I think as a listener, you follow, for a period of time, like when we go to theater, you go to a representation of Shakespeare or whatever, and you leave this, so you are into the artwork, and this is something that we need, that people are more artists, and especially about music. Music has to do with listening, so it has to do with respect. If you look to a picture, you don't need to have respect, yeah. But if you make music, if you listen to music, yes. And so I think this is really lacking right now in our society, and somehow I find myself the white fly that I was when I was 6 or 7. So I'm still a white fly.
Do you think in this lack that you say that you think classical music has in general in society, in life, do you think that the responsibility for that is of society and there is nothing kind of we can do about it, or do you think it's musicians that should take a responsibility in that?
All this thing starts from school. So, because in school you learn to be a citizen, and a person, a complete person, and everybody goes to school, and so this is, I think, one really weak point, especially in Italy. And we cannot do much about school. We can say it, but I know Maestro Cardo is saying it every 2 weeks in the newspaper. So everybody, Muti is talking constantly about this. That we need to start a musical education from early school, from primary school, etc. So this is something. I don't think that we are nowadays so elitary, that we push back people who might be interested. This is not about this. It is, I think, of course, music is difficult. It is not music that you listen while you are at the supermarket or you are in the elevator, so or you are playing Super Mario. So it's not that kind of music, and it needs culture, it needs education, and it needs time, and you need knowledge in sense of that you must know that this music exists. So I think people who decide things, they should be aware that is necessary to do something from the early stages of our life. So primary school and so on, singing.
What advice would you give a young person who is starting in this industry, in this world?
Well, what I said before, you are interesting if you have something genuine. So it means so you really have to ask yourself what it is really, what you want, what is your ideal, what is absolutely necessary for you, because this kind of intuition will lead you to answers, yeah. And I am sure that everybody is so who wants to do this career has some gift, has some talent, and you must discover your talent. So this is the first thing, because if you try something that you are not talented at, that is difficult. So first thing, find your talent. Find also your weak points. Find and then once you have this indication, you have a kind of orientation, I think. And nowadays, with social media, for example, or other structures, let's say, you can really find new ways of living music. But it's really important to find your talent. This is so to be aware of your talent is difficult because, as you said, many people are used to be told what their talent is. And I think it's really necessary because then only then you can really find the center of what you are and so bring something new to, as I said, to the history of music.
No, it's very interesting. But of course it leads me to many other questions. But we're
next master.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish. The first question was why you're a musician. That's now what is music. How would you describe it?
Music. I thought about this. Also, this is something that comes while I'm teaching. Music is a modulation of time. Music is so you have luckily music is something that lives, that happens in a period of time. So it's like we are having a conversation. This is a modulation of our time, So we are speaking, and when we switch off the camera, you go right and I go left, but we are changed. We built something together. We had contacts. We exchanged. We talked, etc. So music is the same. It is a modulation of our time. So first of all, we need to have time. Secondary, we must be ready to be modulated somehow, if I may say this. And it is, as I said, it is a very respectful activity, So you receive something, but you re-elaborate. So you are respectful to what you hear, but also to yourself, to your own feelings. It is a listening in many ways. It's listening not only to notes and rhythms, but is listening to yourself. You're listening inside you, and this is also a act of art. Okay, so this is in principle. Then, if you play Beethoven sonata or not, that's another story. But this kind of bubble. So you start a piece, you hear it, start listening a piece, you finish listening. This kind of bubble is a modulation of you, of your personality, of your feelings, and this is what we bring home. We don't go home saying, "Wow, this F sharp, famous F sharp, was so long." I don't think anybody at the Staatsoper went home thinking this. But for sure, when they heard Midori or when they heard Leonore or conducted by Bernstein, there was something they brought home. Yeah. So I think this is music, and all the technique that we produce sound and the violin intonation and legato and up, down, etc. This is only, it is like the cement that is behind the tiles, or it is there, but it's not so important.
Mm. Thank you very much.
Thank you that I could resume some of my ideas that I didn't know that I have.
Well, I'm happy that at least I opened that box for you from you inside of you. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Really.
thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
No, it really was.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.